and Kamala Harris and Joe Biden were all in the same fire hall this week, and the reactions to each of them walking in is pretty remarkable. Here's what happened when Joe Biden and Kamala walked in.
Boring.
After this humiliating entry, Joe Biden was actually trolled into wearing a MAGA hat. Very funny. And here's how Donald Trump was greeted.
There he is.
Verbal or life.
The majority of people don't even really know who Kamala Harris really is. So she went ahead and did a second sit-down interview. And I think it was a train wreck. In this video, let's take a look. We're going to take a look at Jesse Primetime talking about that interview that Kamala did. And it was in Philadelphia. Ridiculous. And remember, we are voting for the president. So we expect the best of the best. Now somebody just trying. Let's take a look. By the way, if you haven't hit the like button, thank you so much. Those of you who have, be sure to hit that like button so like that will get the message out to more and more people. All right.
Fox News alert, Kamala Harris just bombed her first solo interview. She couldn't answer basic questions and struggled to say how she was different than Joe Biden. We'll have more on that in a second. Last night, Trump said there was no way he was doing another debate. Tonight, he's a little more open.
What would it take to do another debate? What would you need and want?
I wouldn't need anything. I could do it tomorrow.
Would you do it on
But
Fox
I've done
News?
2 debates. Everything was crooked in the second one. I did great with the debates, and I think they've answered everything.
And because he won, he doesn't have to do a second debate. The loser is the one that wants a rematch. Remember that.
But maybe if I got in the right mood, I don't know. Right now I'm leading, and I'm leading in every single poll on the debates. Thank you very
Mr.
much.
President?
So how do you put Trump in the mood when you give him a fair fight?
I thought the debate was great. I thought I did very well, but I was fighting 3 people. I was fighting the crazy left radical lunatics at ABC, I think considered the worst broadcaster out there. George Slobodanopoulos, that whole group, they're bad. And I lost a lot of respect for David Muir, a guy who has good hair, but not as good as it was 5 years ago.
We predicted Trump said, he didn't want to debate as a negotiation tactic to give him a little leverage to choose better moderators. Because what happened this week can't happen again.
There is no state in this country where it is legal to kill a baby after it's born.
Why do you believe it's appropriate to weigh in on the racial identity of your opponent?
Like, why are they talking? He got to now challenge her and those two people? Crazy.
The question was about you as president, not about former Speaker Pelosi. I did watch all of these pieces of video. I didn't detect the sarcasm, lost by a whisker. President Trump, as you know, the FBI says overall violent crime is actually coming down in this country.
It is going up. What the hell is this guy talking about?
Biden's Justice Department just released their national crime victim survey. Crime's actually up 37%. But you don't really need statistics to know crime's up. Just open your eyes. Kamala spewed hoaxes and lies about Trump, wasn't fact-checked once, but that was part of the plan. The other moderator, Kamala's sorority sister, Lindsay Davis, said CNN never fact-checked the first debate between Biden and Trump, and we saw what happened there. So ABC decided to step in. Quote, people were concerned that statements were allowed to just hang out and not be disputed by the candidate Biden at the time or the moderators. So the refs were crooked and they bragged about it in a newspaper. It's so blatant that even Democrats are demanding a full investigation into the debate. Here's Clinton's former advisor. Listen.
I think that the day after suspicion here is really quite high. And I think that I think a review of all their internal texts and emails it really should be done by an independent party to find out to what extent they were planning on in effect, fact checking just one candidate. And
that made Trump look great because he could battle anybody. He don't care if you go up with him or against him. He got you. He knows how to argue.
In effect, rigging the outcome of this debate. And I think the situation demands nothing less than that.
Trump should have known what was coming. Live fact checking should have been a part of the debate negotiations with ABC. And Kamala telegraphed her strategy of provoking him. We told you, whoever was put on the defensive was going to lose. Trump's advisors put so much emphasis on him remaining calm and presidential that he forgot to follow his instincts and take control of the debate. We told him to turn to Kamala and ask her questions. Remember we talked about that?
Yep.
You can even speak directly to the moderators and say, guys, why don't you ask her why she keeps changing her positions? Go, ask her.
Yep.
The one time Trump did it, it really worked.
You should ask, will she allow abortion in the 8th month, 9th month, 7th month?
Come on.
Okay, would you do that? Why don't you ask her that question?
Why don't you answer
That's
the
problem.
question? Would you
because
veto?
under Roe v.
Answer
Wade,
the question. Would you veto?
you could do abortions in the 7th month, the 8th month, the 9th
That's
month,
not true.
and probably after birth. Just look at the former governor of Virginia. The governor of Virginia said, we put the baby aside and then we determine what we want to do with the baby.
President Trump, thank you.
Even if it wasn't a perfect performance, Trump's message came across loud and clear.
Yep.
Kamala's didn't. Nobody knows where she stands, and she's still behind in the polls. Trump's numbers went up. Even Kamala's friends in Congress won't say what she stands for.
Do you have concerns that there's a lot of ambiguity surrounding Harris and what she exactly stands for and what she'll do as president?
I think you guys have to find another line of attack because she addressed all of the questions that were raised to her about so-called policy reversals. But you tell me why J.D. Vance went from being a never Trumper to being a forever Trumper. I'm not going to answer for Kamala Harris, okay?
Is this more about focusing on getting Harris elected and then kind of working out the policy specifics later?
I mean, the narrative out there is like she doesn't have policy chops. That's crazy. Yeah, I disagree.
That guy doesn't even work there anymore. He was not nominated. So he got booted out. What is he doing?
She's changed her mind on all of those issues.
So you're not worried about the ambiguity surrounding Harris this close to Election Day?
I'm worried about the ambiguity surrounding Donald Trump. I'm also worried about his health because he didn't look good.
I think that she is her own person, and we have seen notable, we've seen her record in its totality.
We're less than 2 months from the election, and Democrats won't tell us Kamala's agenda. Behind the scenes, CNN reports that Kamala's internal numbers and battlegrounds are looking rough. And as pumped as Harris aides are about her debate performance earlier this week, they don't think it changed any of that. Top aides on the Harris campaign told CNN they fear if the election were held next Tuesday instead of 8 Tuesdays from now, Trump still would be in a good position to win.
So, okay, they may not be rigging the election, but they need to make it appear like she got a lot of people backing her. Like if Trump wins in a landslide that everybody's voting for him, it's going to be extremely difficult for them to pretend like she got more votes than him. So I think that's the only way they could rig this whole thing. If they don't get that big of a landslide for Trump. Let's keep listening.
Kamala may have raised a lot of cash after the debate and demonstrated that she's more coherent than Biden, but she still looks completely lost.
Madam Vice President, how are you feeling about Pennsylvania?
I am feeling very good about Pennsylvania because there are a lot of people in Pennsylvania who deserve to be seen and heard. That's why I'm here in Johnstown. And I will be continuing to travel around the state to make sure.
She looks like she's struggling, looking for words to say to sound smart. It's not the way to do it. Just sound genuine and talk.
That I'm listening as much as we are talking.
I'm feeling very good about Pennsylvania because there are a lot of people who deserve to be seen and heard. Who talks like that? Normal politicians would say, feeling great about Pennsylvania. It's a key state. Joe Biden and I have done a lot for the people of Pennsylvania. Rattle off a list of what you did, then rattle off the list of things you're going to do. Attack Trump, crack a joke, say goodbye. What's so hard about that?
He kept it so simple. She can't even do that. Break it down in simple terms.
The woman looks frozen. Earlier in the day, she gave her first solo interview to Brian Taff. Ever heard of him? We hadn't either. He's a local action news anchor for the local ABC station in Philly. And Kamala could not get it together.
When we talk about bringing down prices and making life more affordable for people, what are one or two specific things you have in mind for that?
Now, let me say this much. I think he had great questions, and he was very clear with her and with the audience. But she just fails to execute, and he plays his role pretty good, where he doesn't push back. He lets her talk instead of being a good journalist and talking back. So he was clear with his questions, but he just didn't push back.
Well, I'll start with this. I grew up a middle-class kid. My mother raised my sister and me. She worked very hard. She was able to finally save up enough money to buy our first house when I was a teenager. I grew up in a community of hardworking people, you know, construction workers. And
sounds like the same answer she gave during the debate. It's like this is what she got memorized, and this is all she knows. This is opportunity. This was an opportunity to give us a different way to answer the question, but she just repeated herself. Insane. How can people vote for this?
Nurses and teachers. And I try to explain to some people who may not have had the same experience, you know, if a lot of people will relate to this. You know, I grew up in a neighborhood of folks who were very proud of their lawn.
Proud of their lawn? Really? Like, we're past this whole try to connect with people. How about you be yourself so we could connect with you? Yeah.
And creating opportunity for people, for example, to start a small business.
The question was, how are you going to bring down prices? And Kamala's answer was, I grew up around construction workers who took care of their lawns. And then I heard something about ambition and aspiration. Kamala's only idea to fight inflation was price controls, but she's not allowed to say that anymore because it's stupid. So she has nothing to say and just runs out the clock with childhood stories. And it got worse.
Some people have a question, given maybe your current role as Vice President of the United States, how different you are from Joe Biden.
Well, I'm obviously not Joe Biden. And, you know, I often...
Repeating herself from the debate. I'm not Joe Biden. You already said that. Now you're just looking for words to fill up the time.
For a new generation of leadership. And so, for example, thinking about developing and creating an opportunity economy where it's about investing in areas that really need a lot of work and maybe focusing on, again, the aspirations and the dreams, but also just recognizing that at this moment in time, some of the stuff we could take for granted years ago, we can't take for granted anymore.
What did she just say?
Yeah.
How are you different than Joe Biden? The entire goal of her campaign is to separate herself from Joe Biden. The campaign slogan is a new way forward. It's a new way forward from Joe Biden. So how exactly are you a new way forward? She couldn't answer.
Crazy.
The interview continued.
Another plan that I have that is a new approach is to expand the child tax credit to $6,000 for young families.
Expand it. Right now it's 3,000, so she's gonna boost it up to 6. What is this? What are we doing? Plus, Trump just said that he's gonna put it up to 5. Or I think JD Vance said that. So she's trying to fight that. Come on now.
The first year of their child's life.
Joe Biden's child tax credit is $3,000 and Kamala's is $6,000. Of all the things, border, inflation, crime, Israel, housing, the only difference between Kamala and Joe Biden is a $3,000 difference in the child tax credit. She continued.
My approach is about new ideas, new policies that are directed at the current moment. And also, to be very honest with you, my focus is very much in what we need to do over the next 10, 20 years.
Struggling. She's struggling to say the right things. Come on now. That's a struggle when you see one.
To catch up to the 21st century around, again, capacity, but also challenges.
She's focused on today, but she's also focused on tomorrow. And not just around capacity, but also challenges. She doesn't have any new ideas. She can't say how she's different than Joe Biden. And she's so nervous, you can hear her swallowing. Maybe she's nervous because she doesn't see a path to victory. New York Times polling says 63% of voters blame her for the border. 54% blame Kamala for rising prices. And the voters understand what the media doesn't. Kamala's been in the White House for 3.5 years, didn't deliver. And the country needs a change.
There are a lot more questions. Of course, I would love to ask Kamala Harris about her leadership style and her plans and how she plans to execute. But are those undecided voters saying, I'm going to kind of lean Trump here because I want change? I don't get it.
Mika doesn't get that people want change because high crime and high prices and open borders don't penetrate her beautiful cocoon. And to many successful people on TV, yeah, it doesn't penetrate. But to an American that cares about the country and cares about the American people, she should see how working Americans have gotten hammered by Biden-Harris. They don't get it, and they don't want to get it. It's tough to admit your party failed. Easier to admit the other party's in a cult.
I don't think the polling's going to get better for him, but his cult base is locked in. This now, anytime he loses, it was rigged. And, you know, it is really depressing that people are stooping to that level, but that's what's going on.
Michael Schellenberger is the CBR chair of censorship, politics, and free speech at the University of Austin. Let me ask you a quick question. First about ABC. There's now growing calls for an investigation into the ABC News debate. She admitted that it didn't go well for Joe Biden when CNN didn't fact check. So that
if they investigate, what are they going to find out? That they gave her the questions? That they're really rigged? Openly rigged?
That's why she had to fact check. And he so many times. Do you think that's right?
Hey, Jesse, good to be with you. I think the most interesting thing about this now is that we now know that there were 7 times that Kamala Harris lied during that debate. These are 7 instances that are clear fabrications or lies about Trump's record. We see it with IVF, abortion, the bloodbath remark, Project 25, the no casualties in war. The list goes on, and they didn't call her out a single time, and they called out Trump 5 times. Trump thought he was going to a debate. Kamala Harris had prepared for a performance. She was entirely scripted down to the movements that she made in that debate. And so I think that when you see her again, as you showed just now in these clips, we see that when she's really in a situation where she has to fend for herself and talk on the fly in an improvisational way, in other words, behaving like a presidential candidate, there's nothing there. It's just she's someone that can only perform from a script. We've been asking who's running the country, who's the president. The other question is, who's the Democratic candidate for the presidency right now? Because we still don't know who Kamala Harris is.
It's crazy that there's some shadow government behind her that we don't know who they are, who's running the country. And all we can do is do conspiracy. And that's it. Conspiracy and theories of who it might be. But we don't know.
Think about how long she's gotten away with not saying how she's different than Joe Biden and what she's going to do to bring down prices. She's gone through a convention, a CNN interview, and a 90-minute presidential debate where I think almost, 70 million people watched. No one knows how she's different. No one knows what her plans are. And then she does an interview with a local yokel from ABC Philly, and she's still, Mike, 2 months to go before the election, still can't answer that. What does that mean?
Yeah, I mean, look, she's running to be commander-in-chief, and she can't command an improvisation. She can't actually think on the fly, speak on the fly, describe what she's going to be doing without having a handler there, either in the form of her vice president or in the form of ABC News so-called debate moderators. again, she's someone that can behave when she's scripted. When somebody else is running her, she's not able to actually act on the fly. And of course, that's what being president is. It's about commanding the situation, any situation that you're in. And this is an extremely dangerous moment right now. So to have the media basically enabling a kind of puppetry, a kind of performance, it's very scary and dangerous, I think.
She's even a bigger puppet than Biden was, and we saw what happened the last time, so it could get worse with her. Mike, have a great weekend. Enjoy California.
Great to be with you, Jesse.
National Press Secretary for the Trump campaign, Caroline Leavitt. So this was the first solo interview. How did that go?
53 days. That's the time Kamala Harris spent preparing for this big, bad solo sit-down interview with a local reporter in Philly. And it was a nightmare. She was a train wreck. She was nervous, as you pointed out, Jesse. She was swallowing, and she couldn't answer a single question. She was asked very simply, as you said, what are you going to do to bring down the cost of living in this country? And she threw out a word salad. And this is what the mainstream media still does not understand, as proven by Tuesday night's debate. They do not get why millions of Americans support President Trump. The pundits are all saying Kamala Harris did a great job. Why? Because she can memorize talking points for 90 minutes and regurgitate them. That's not going to rewrite the last 43 months of misery that she has brought onto this country. Every time she goes off unscripted, she's a complete mess. And President Trump says what the American people are thinking. And he says what they lack the courage to say in their workplace, to their family and their friends. He speaks for the forgotten men and women of this country. And he is something that Kamala Harris will never be: authentic. She lacks authenticity. She goes wherever the political wind blows her. She has zero conviction. She would be a terrible president. That has been proven true by her interview today and her debate performance on Tuesday.
Well, she's going to be doing Oprah Winfrey next week. I don't know how you predict that's going to go. We'd love to hear your thoughts. We'd also love to hear, President Trump might be open to doing a debate if he's in the mood, if the mood strikes him. How do you think that's going to?
I think Oprah Winfrey is going to do her best to make Kamala look good. She's definitely going to take it easy on Kamala. It's not going to push back on anything that she got to say. And just, she knows the name of the game. She knows how to do publicity. So it's going to be one of those interviews.
Shake out.
Well, you heard the man. If he's in the mood, maybe he will do it. Maybe he will not. But as President Trump said after Tuesday night, and similar to boxing, when the fighter loses, you immediately call for a rematch. That's why Kamala Harris wants a rematch, because the reviews are in from Tuesday night. And the American people are not satisfied with Kamala Harris. They have a lot of unanswered questions. 6 in 10 undecided voters, according to Reuters, are now voting for President Trump after Tuesday night's debate. Even the failing New York Times had to admit that the pundits say Kamala won, but voters are not so sure, because again, he is speaking on behalf of millions of Americans, and they see through the mainstream media's bias. And by the way, David Muir, Lindsay Davis should be absolutely ashamed of themselves, and they owe President Trump an apology for their fake news fact check of his crime data. Violent crime is up under Kamala Harris. Their own Department of Justice just proved that yesterday.
You're right. And David does still have nice hair, even though it's maybe not as good as 5 years ago. Still nice.
Not as good as yours, Jesse.
Not as good as mine. Thank you. Not a great moderator, that's for sure. Thank you so much, Caroline. Brett Favre joins Primetime. Plus, John Legend and the Haitian invasion. What you need to know.
Let me pause it right there.
Springfield, Ohio, showing no signs of slowing down. The community's been ravaged.
Oh, yeah, Ohio. So this is where they're eating the pet and eating the cat. This is where Trump went off, and a lot of people are saying that he was wrong for doing it. But again, you make mistakes when you're running for president, and Trump makes those mistakes and keeps it moving. Like, this is what he saw on the news, that they're eating the pets, they're eating the dogs, they're eating the cat. Let's see what Jesse says.
By a surge of 15,000 migrants that's rocked the town's way of life. John Legend is Springfield's favorite son, but the Grammy winner hasn't lived there for a while, and now that his hometown's in the spotlight, he's got a message for them.
We had about 15,000 or so immigrants move to my town of 60,000.
That's scary. So many people just showing up to town.
Now, you might say, wow, that's a lot of people for a town that only had 60,000 before. That's a 25% increase. That is correct. So you might imagine there are some challenges with, integrating a new population, new language, new culture, new dietary preferences. They are hardworking. They're ambitious. They commit less crime than native-born Americans. And they will assimilate and integrate.
He should let them into his house or his neighborhood. How about that? Let's see how you deal with it. With all these strangers coming into your neighborhood, they don't even speak English and they do their own thing.
In time.
I like Legend's music, but not his attitude. A millionaire in a Beverly Hills mansion telling working class Americans who make 60 grand a year, yeah, there's challenges. Just give it time. Crime's up 142%.
Yeah.
There's a record amount of car accidents. You're getting squeezed out of your homes. And the geese population's been decimated. But it'll work itself out. Be patient. Why didn't John Legend tell Martha's Vineyard to be patient? Martha's Vineyard had 50 illegals show up and had a panic attack and airlifted them out to a military base within 48 hours. 15,000 Haitians parachute into a small town. Whoa. And Chrissy Teigen's husband saying, relax, they're ambitious. Does John Legend have any idea people are dying?
No.
I'd like to talk about the death of one very special person, my mother-in-law, Kathy Heaton. On December 1st, I received a phone call that changed my life forever. She was collecting her trash can from her driveway when a car struck and killed her instantly. A Haitian immigrant was allegedly driving recklessly when he struck and killed her. I say allegedly because to this day, there's been no punishment. Not even for the expired tags on the vehicle he was driving. How can we expect them to come here from a country that doesn't have the same laws and rules and expect them to comply with ours? It is unsafe, unjust, and it needs to change.
They're eating the cats and the geese. They don't care. They see an animal, that's more food. That's the name of the game.
This Haitian takeover is creating a serious culture clash in small town America. Springfield doesn't hate Haitians. They just love their community. The United States of America has absorbed immigrants naturally over the course of hundreds of years. Usually immigrants touch down in cities and are more easily assimilated. It's extremely rare to deposit an arena full of poor Haitians into a tiny Midwestern town. They don't have the room, the resources, or a pre-existing cultural landing pad to receive a tidal wave of hungry Haitians. Haitians without English skills, formal education, and driving experience. A reckless immigration policy stretches us too thin and ruins the American experiment. I spoke to Mark Sanders, a Springfield resident, who's seen this firsthand.
Our food pantries, they get stripped. Our clinics, which is Rocking Horse, is a federally funded clinic in town. Their budget was decimated. Our roads are it's like Escape from New York, and everybody feels like Snake Plissken. They have between 4 and 6 wrecks a day, and probably over 50% of those are people without licenses, without insurance, and have no English skills.
And they're eating the cats and geese, voting Trump. Let's go.
Kamala's responsible for the Haitian invasion, and she finds it funny. But Trump has a plan. Listen.
We will do large deportations from Springfield, Ohio. Large deportations. We're going to get these people out. We're bringing them back to Venezuela. You know, he told Biden he's not accepting anybody back. They moved all their criminals. Not all of them, but the rest are moving in now. They emptied their jails in Venezuela, emptied their criminals, emptied the nests. They call them nests of bad people. They're all now in the United States, and they're now taking over cities. It's like an invasion from within. And we're going to have the largest deportation in the history of our country. And we're going to start with Springfield and Aurora.
Yeah.
Ohio Senate candidate Bernie Moreno is here. So, Bernie, is anybody upset in Ohio? I mean, Kamala's not going to help. Biden's not going to help. Is anybody in Ohio going to do anything about this?
Well, the problem is that our U.S. Senator Sherrod Brown, my opponent, is the one that signed off on giving temporary protective status to the people who come here illegally in the first place. And what he wants to do and Kamala Harris wants to do is make them citizens. We have to, as President Trump just said, deport them. Look, when you have a millionaire celebrity in a bathrobe, for God's sake, can a man put some clothes on, lecturing Ohio on what he should do? You know, this is the problem in this country is we have these elites and these politicians that look down on rural America, think that they're better than we are and put these problems on us. Look, we have American citizens that need help. Don't we need leaders in Washington, D.C. that look out for our fellow citizens above?
You know what? The leaders should show us how it's done. And they should take in all the illegal migrants. And they should help them out with school, with hospitals, with integrating into America. And they should show us, the poor people, how it's done. That would be amazing if all these politicians just took in a bunch of illegal migrants, and just show how it's done. Hey, set up a model.
Of all else, Jesse?
Yeah, it's shock and awe. You don't put 15,000 people in a small town from the poorest country in the Western Hemisphere and just expect it to go well without the resources or the room. Do you understand that this is a little different here? No one hates Haitians, but they can't absorb this kind of wave like that?
Well, first of all, I'm a legal immigrant from Colombia, South America myself, so I absolutely understand it. I also understand as a legal immigrant that it's infuriating when this country rewards people and gives special treatment to others who broke the law to come here. Let's allow people to come here legally that want to assimilate, that want to learn the language. And the way we change that is by going on BernieMoreno.com and helping me defeat Sherrod Brown. That's how we get this country back.
All right. Thank you so much, Bernie. So what did the Secret Service director tell Congress in private about Butler?
It was too difficult.
Trump was shot 2 months ago, and the Secret Service still won't explain how it happened.
Nope.
Feels like the agency's covering something up, like its own incompetence or something else. Last night, Senator Josh Hawley broke a major claim from a Secret Service whistleblower. The lead advance agent at Trump's Pennsylvania rally reportedly failed one or more of her training exams.
Whoa.
The pattern that is emerging here, Jesse, from whistleblowers who've come forward to me now over and over again is that the Trump rally was undermanned. It was understaffed. They did not have people who had experience on it. And now this advance agent, I'm told, may have failed one or more of her training exams and was known not to be a top quality agent. I mean, this.
How do you fail a test and still get the job? It's like all you had to do was apply. What are you, a DEI hire? Like, you're supposed to be able to pass the test with flying colors. But I mean, if all you got to do is show up and you get the job, that's crazy.
This is absurd. See, this is what's so hard to understand is that if this individual had failed one or more of her training exams, if she was known not to be really one of the Secret Service's top agent, she's in the Pittsburgh office, why was she put in charge of the entire trip?
If that's true, it means the former Secret Service director, Kim Cheadle, who knew the Iranians were trying to kill Trump before July 13th, assigned a failed agent with guarding Trump's life.
Crazy.
Is it because she's a woman that she was promoted to this position? We don't know. It wouldn't be fair to say. But we do know Cheadle emphasized creating a Secret Service with 30% female agents. Back in April, a different female agent on Kamala's detail wigged out on the job, threw maxi pads at her boss, was taken away in cuffs. That agent reportedly failed the drill known as Hogan's Alley, where you run through simulated ambushes and shoot bad guys. She couldn't do it. She accidentally shot the good guys.
Crazy.
But Cheadle graduated her anyway. Unnamed Secret Service agents warned that Cheadle was sacrificing agent competence to advance her DEI agenda. And someone could get killed. And they were running almost Donald Trump. Wisconsin Senator Ron Johnson joins us now. Senator, you were briefed yesterday by the Secret Service director. What did he tell you?
Jesse, not much. You know, let's face it, what we know about what happened on July 13th is coming primarily from local law enforcement and from whistleblowers that are talking to people like Josh Hawley. You know, this is the way they slow walk an investigation. They come to the Hill, they say they're going to brief us, and they tell us virtually nothing. Okay, so there are a lot of Homeland Security investigating personnel on the ground. They weren't properly trained. Okay, got that. But there are far more questions that are outstanding than we have any answers. We've now interviewed 12 people, 12. The FBI has interviewed over 1,000. Over a month ago, I asked Deputy Director Abate to provide us the transcripts of those interviews, the 302s. He said, okay, we'll get those to you as soon as possible. We haven't gotten one. We'll get documents a day, sometimes minutes before we actually interview somebody, which makes it very difficult for us to interview. So again, I'm hoping the Chairman Peters, Chairman Blumenthal will start pressing and start issuing subpoenas to get this information, because this is exactly how these agencies ignore congressional oversight and basically refuse to be held accountable to the American public.
The more and more they wait for more information to come out, the more conspiracy theories and the more we think that it was somebody else involved in this. It was actually the government trying to take out my man Donald Trump, bullet dodging Trump, because the man just went ahead just to get the job. He had to dodge a bullet, and that's the only reason he's going to get the job. You know, who else is going to step up to that level just to get a $400,000 job? The man is a billionaire. He doesn't even need to be running for this office. That's crazy. Well, let me know what you think. You think anybody else has something to do with this? Like to let a man go up there 130 yards away and take a shot at the former president? It just feels like a conspiracy. This is a crazy time we're living in. But when it comes to Kamala, let me just say the final notice that Democrats who vote always Democrats, yeah, they're going to stick to their team, even though it is obvious that they have an incompetent candidate running for office. Like, it is sad that they are willing to put in an incompetent woman just because she's a Democrat, but not because of the skills, not because she's good at her job. So we live in some crazy time. Hopefully, after all this is said and done, Trump wins in a landslide, because we got to admit it. And this man is going above and beyond, even though he makes statements, crazy shit like they're eating the cats, they're eating the dogs, they're eating your pets. Like we give it an excuse, because hey, he's trying and he's gonna make mistakes. But let me know what you think. Comment down below, because we live in some crazy times, and unless we do something about it, like, everybody got to get involved in politics, you know? Otherwise, nothing's going to change. Things are just going to get worse and worse and worse. Especially like if we get that puppet, Kamala Harris, to run the country, we all going to know that she's not the one running. Somebody else is writing her script. Somebody else is telling her what to say, what to do. And we can only assume that because she never talks off the top of the dome. She never just says what she thinks. Because when she does, she messes things up. She doesn't know what she's saying. She bombs the interview. But I could be wrong. Let me know if you agree with that or not. Comment down below, because we got to be verbal on life. My name is Noel, battling MS. I can still move my finger, I can still move my hand. And I'm just trying to inform you guys of what's going on out there. Thanks so much. Please give it a thumbs up so we'll get the word out to more and more people. Peace.
Verbal or life.
And we are done. Woo, I haven't been down here like in a month. No, like a week, because I got sick. I don't know what the hell happened to me. Getting over the flu. Still alive, still talking. And still here to try to entertain you guys. Hopefully you like this video. And I'm going to end it right there, because I want to upload it to my other channel. Remember, the trick to life is to never give up. Keep hope alive and keep pushing forward. That's the only way to make it. Let the haters hate. That's what I tell students. Moving on up.
Voting Donald Trump, baby. Voting Donald Trump, baby.
I respect women more than I respect men. Are the men insulted by that?
Voting Donald Trump, baby. Voting Donald Trump, baby.
I respect women. I love women. I cherish women.
Voting Donald Trump, baby. Donald Trump. Voting Donald Trump, baby. Voting Donald.
Verbal or life.